Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm Paul Dottino. He is Matt Citak, and we are coming to you from the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. As a reminder, you can always find an archive of this show if you're not watching it live, and our entire podcast network on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and giants.com/podcasts. All right, let's get the big elephant out of the room right away, because there's not enough room for him in here anyway. It's a really small studio. Today is cut down day, right? Every team has to be down to 53 members on their roster as of 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You have seen and heard all kinds of reports about Giants players who are supposedly not going to be on that 53. Brian Daboll just started meeting the media about 5 minutes ago and began his press conference by saying the Giants will release their official list at 4 p.m. today. He will not have any comments about any of the names that are being floated out there with various reports. He said, simply put, him and General Manager Joe Schoen will meet the media again tomorrow, and then they will talk about the names who have been released, waived, cut. Use whatever name you like. He will talk about tomorrow's 53 tomorrow. He is not talking about it today, would not even acknowledge or disavow anything that's out there, because one particular reporter actually asked about a certain player, and he said, I already told you, we're not making any comments until 4 o'clock today when the list comes out, and then he and Joe will talk tomorrow. So why do I say that? I say it because at least you guys now have an understanding about why many of you may call us up and ask us about some names, and we're simply not going to be able to discuss their status. I will be very happy, and I'm sure Matt will as well, if you'd like to talk about a player and some of his skills and some of the plays that he may have made, that's fine. But in terms of his status, we're not talking about it because there is no official word about their status, and therefore it is a moot point as far as the coach is concerned and as far as we are concerned. In any event, with that, we move on. I will say this, Matt. It is certainly a very interesting day because there will be some surprises for some people around the league. There will be some that were expected. And let's not forget, and this is important, and I want you to kindly address it to these folks, whatever happens at 4 o'clock today, there is still going to be some juggling going on a few or maybe even most NFL teams over the course of the next 24 hours. So in reality, every NFL team has two lists, the 53 and the 69. Or in the Giants' case, they have the opportunity, if they want to use another international exemption on McAtamney, they may, which means the Giants actually can have a list of 70 by the time things clear out tomorrow. Having said that, your personal warning to the folks out there.
Yes, you guys will notice when at 4 o'clock, when everything does get announced in an official capacity, you will see the word initial blasted everywhere, because that's what this is. This is going to be the initial 53-man roster. This isn't even going to be likely the 53-man roster that the Giants head into week one with, because let's not forget, we've spoken about this in the last couple of weeks. The Giants are number 3 in the waiver claim order, which means any of the 1,200 players that get cut around the league today, of the guys that are, I believe it's under 4 years of league service, they all have to go through waivers. The Giants have the third priority to claim any of those guys. There is a decent chance they at least put in one claim, you would think, given where they are in the order. So the guys that make the initial 53-man roster, that may not even be the final 53-man roster going into next week's game against the Commanders. And I got to say, it is great to be able to say next week's game. We are less than 2 weeks away from real football, which is great. But
that is very cool.
But yes, about the 53-man roster, there's going to be a lot of juggling over the next, I would say, like 48 plus hours. I would say there's a decent chance that, going into the weekend, that the team that is currently constructed at that point, there's a decent chance that will be at least the week 1 roster. But again, there's going to be a lot of juggling, a lot of, roster manipulation. We see it every year. The last couple of years since Joe Shane and Brian Dable took over, it seemed like each year there was one veteran that was up and down from the practice squad to the 53-man roster like twice a week. So I'd expect more of that just based on how, those two have operated the last couple of years. It is very, very important to just key in on the word initial, because it is not final by any sort of way.
Now, just to further so that you understand the rules, because the lists don't become official till 4 o'clock today when the NFL actually locks the door on the transaction list today, no matter what you have read, there is still a possibility that a player could have been rumored to have his status change, and then suddenly you find out at 3 o'clock he gets traded.
Yeah,
that could happen too.
That is, I feel like, the reason why Brian Dable won't comment on anything until it is 100% official, because, any team could, put a rumor out there that a player is not going to make the 53-man roster. Then all of a sudden, before they officially put the guy on waivers, they get calls from teams saying, hey, we'll give you a 7th-round pick or a late swap for that guy. The team is obviously going to be interested in doing that as opposed to just getting rid of the guy with zero compensation back. So that is why Brian Dable will not comment on anything until it is 100% official. That's honestly how he and the way things have been operating here the last couple of years, regardless.
By the way, the reverse could be true too.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, maybe the Giants wind up making a trade for somebody before 4 o'clock. And now, guess what? We want this guy in this position room, and we thought we had that room filled this morning, but now we're going to have to cut somebody else.
Yeah.
That could happen too.
100%.
So this is why until the list comes out, you don't really know the initial 53. Now, the other variable here, folks, is that every player, thanks to a recent rule change, goes back a year, I think only a year, might be 2 years. You can put guys on retrievable or recallable injured reserve. You can put 2 guys on recallable injured reserve before you submit your 53.
Which means that those guys are eligible to come back after the 4 games. They have to miss the first 4 games, but then they are allowed to be one of the guys that are, labeled as eligible to return.
So if you want to kind of be a little fancy with your nomenclature, you kind of have 55.
Yeah.
You have 53 plus 2 retrievable injured reserve guys, which allows you really to protect 55 from being swiped by somebody at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, that's true. And I just see one YouTube comment here that just about this conversation, so I just want to touch on it real quick.
Sure.
John Michael. I don't think that's John Michael Schmitz, but
probably not. John, if you're watching, there's a walkthrough and a team meeting momentarily. You better get out there.
But John Michael did ask, is it true if a team makes a waiver claim that player has to then be added to the 53-man roster, or can you put him to the practice squad? If you claim a guy on waivers
53.
Tomorrow, he has to go onto the 53-man roster. He cannot be put onto the new team's practice squad.
Correct.
So just I saw that comment, just thought we'd get it out of the way real quick. I'm sure maybe someone else had that same question. If you claim a guy, he guarantees a spot for the 53-man roster. I think that guy has to be on your 53-man roster for a couple of weeks.
A minimum of 2 weeks, I believe, is the rule.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I think the rule is minimum of 2 weeks.
Now, if your own players that don't make the 53-man roster obviously go through waivers, go unclaimed, then you have every right to sign them to your own practice squad.
And that starts at 12 o'clock tomorrow.
Yes, and those same players also have every right to, sign with any other team's practice squad. It's not guaranteed just because there's a young guy that spent all summer here and, may have looked promising. If he doesn't make the 53-man roster, doesn't matter, what might have been said over the last 6 weeks, that guy has every right to sign with any team in the NFL.
And you know what? To be honest with you, every year when you take a look at the practice squad teams, 2/3, if not 3/4 of the guys on the practice squad were guys you had in camp anyway.
Yeah.
Most of those guys
To start, at least.
we're already here before. You'll see the back end of the practice squad. You might have a handful of guys who may have been floating around the league, but most of them will already have been here. So don't fret. Just because you may see some names that you did not want to lose floating around somewhere, we're simply telling you nothing is for sure and everything is fluid. With that, we open up the phones. Now that we have discussed all of the parameters and the rules and the possibilities with you, so this way, hopefully, you have a better understanding as to where this is all going. We go to Jerome in Charlotte. You are first on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hi, guys. Love the show. I just want to first put my predictions out for the season, and I do have a question about the running back.
Okay.
Okay, I think the Giants will be in the top 5 defense, and offense will be in the top 10. And I think we will have 3 players on defense over 10 sacks each. I don't know the exact order, but I believe Lawrence, Burns, and Carter.
Jerome, I love where you're going. You may be going a little too fast for the progress of this club, but I love where you're going.
Top 5 defense, a top 10 offense, and 3 double-digit sack guys. I mean, I would sign up for that in a heartbeat. I would sell my soul for that.
You're biting off one big hamburger there, my friend.
And you never know. That would be a big jump from where the team was last year to this year. 1 year, that would be a pretty significant jump. However, it's not completely unheard of. I mean, it was only a couple of years ago that the Cincinnati Bengals went from 4 wins to the Super Bowl in 1 year.
And look how
it's not impossible.
Washington turned it around quickly, too.
Washington turned it around.
You never know.
Change at the quarterback. Exactly. You never know. But it would be.
Jerome, show us where we can sign up for that, okay, please?
Sure. Just watch. Patience. I believe we will be 11-6.
Okay.
And I have a question about the running back. I believe is the running. I understand about the running back room being kind of crowded. I think they can waive Singletary and easily add him back to the practice squad.
Okay. Well, I would say this. Please do remember that he's a pro's pro, a reliable veteran who is very much liked for his demeanor, his work ethic, his ability to produce in the locker room, and because of a long-term connection in Buffalo with the general manager and the head coach, they are very fond of him.
Yeah, Brian Dable has raved about Devin Singletary every chance he's gotten since Motor signed here last offseason. Brian Dable's been very complimentary about him. And on top of that, the other 2 running backs at the top of the depth chart then are Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scadaboo. Cam Scadaboo's never played it down in the NFL. Tyrone Tracy's only played the running back position for 2 full seasons of his entire football career. All of a sudden, you're, getting rid of all of the experience that you would have in the running back room if you were to get rid of Singletary.
But that's why I believe they know him for so long and had dealt with him for so long, they can do a handshake deal like, hey, we're going to waive you, but we're going to pull you back to the practice squad for X amount of dollars. And I think he would do that and trust him.
All right, Jerome. Well, thanks for the call. 201-939-4513 is our phone number here on Big Blue Kickoff Live. I think it's important to remember one thing about any player in this league who you think may be apt to work with a team as they're trying to go through their roster. Players have a short career lifespan in the NFL. And practice squad money is not the same as regular roster money. In fact, it's a far cry from it. Not to mention the accrued seasons that they get on their benefits. So, just saying to some veteran that, oh, well, here's a handshake, and we're going to bring you back, and we'll give you a little bonus to do it. In most cases, if not all, a veteran Mr. X is not going to see that as a good offer.
Yeah, and also if that were to happen with any player, like, again, he has no necessarily like loyalty or ties to automatically just come back to the practice squad. He could, wink, wink, handshake deal, but then all of a sudden he's a free agent and Team X comes calling and they need, a starter at that position or someone to push the guy that they currently have for the starting role. That player is going to go to that new opportunity where he has a better chance of getting playing time right away. Right now, Devin Singletary is, I don't think he's just going to be, thrown to the bench all season, but he is likely looking at, the third running back role behind Tracy and Scadaboo. If all of a sudden you were to let him go and he has a chance to sign with some of these teams that have little to no running backs currently on their roster, I think I saw Cleveland is down to like 2 running backs on their active roster right now. A player like Singletary could see an opportunity like that and be like, well, I want to take advantage of, the good years I have left. I'm going to go to a team that is going to let me play more right away. So
yeah,
I don't think you want to get rid of your most veteran guy in the room when your other guys are so young and learning from that veteran. I just don't see the benefit of taking the veteran out of the room. I think at the very least, he's a reliable guy that you can depend on for, a couple of touches a game and a good sounding board for the 2 young guys who you hope to develop into, the future 1-2 punch at the running back position.
Generically speaking, it is hard to connect the dots for any veteran who would pass up an opportunity like you described. Yeah. Just simply put, there's just no way to really comprehend why somebody would entertain that scenario. Let's go to line 2. John is in Cape Cod. I hope your weather is as good as it is here.
Hey, Paul. How you guys doing today?
We're
good.
well.
How are you, John?
Yeah, that's here is beautiful today. It's about 74 right now with sunshine and a nice breeze. Paul, I wanted to address you because you got the timeline with the Giants here. I enjoyed listening to the gentleman yesterday who hit 70, talked about some memories. This team is built on legends and heritage. I hit 80 this year, and thank God all the parts are
good for you.
Parts are still working. Yeah, we have had Giant tickets in the family since 1953.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in Kearney, New Jersey.
The home of Big Red, Alex Webster.
When Big Red came down from Canada, and we've been fans ever since. So I want to share 2 memories. One is when I was very young. I live in Patriot country now, and they go on and on about Adam Vinatieri and that great kick in the playoffs in the snow. But I was in Yankee Stadium with my younger brother and watched Pat Summerall kick a 49-yarder in the driving snowstorm to put the Giants into the championship that year.
Yes,
and
sir.
That's a memory that is as fresh as yesterday. The other one is in 85, 86, I was at the playoffs with my oldest son, and the only team that I was worried about that year was the 49ers because they were loaded with Pro Bowl players. And the Giants just put a whooping on them that day. And that game was over at halftime. And I'm sure you remember that one, Paul.
Well, John, I would only say this. The 85 Bears, that was one heck of a team. And, of course, the Giants went out to Soldier Field and could not get past them. I would say this, though, John. I did not fear any other team in 86. I thought that Giants team was going to go right through the postseason. And the 85 team, I will tell this to you, Matt, I thought had the Giants gotten past the Bears, I think they would have also been a potential Super Bowl winner. But they just couldn't get past the Bears.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. And I remember the weather played a big deal in that.
It did. It was very cold and windy.
It was head-to-head until that that ball took the punt off of.
I know. We don't like to talk about that. He doesn't like to either.
Yeah, I know. But he was a great punter.
He was.
Great punter.
Thank you, John.
Just briefly, last thing I'll leave you with is, being that I watch the Patriots a lot, I like Gunnar Olszewski, and I'll tell you something. He was a Belichick guy. He was an excellent special teamer, and the times he was playing wide receiver, he delivered. So I hope the Giants choose to keep him on the team.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I mean, look.
Stay well.
Two seasons ago, Gunnar was a great returner for the Giants. And then last year he was hurt and missed basically the entire year. I think he played week 1 and got hurt week 2, I believe, and then was gone.
It was
done
groin,
the rest of the season.
It was.
Yeah, it was lingering all year. And, obviously the Giants re-signed him this year. Was it a couple of days into training camp?
It was after Ford Wheaton got hurt.
Yeah.
They needed a body.
And from the second that he stepped foot back into this building, he looked good.
Yes, he did.
Obviously during practice, there's not a whole lot you can gain from the kickoff return drills. But as a receiver, he impressed us. And it was numerous different days. There was the one day where, who was the quarterback with him? Was it Jameis or Jackson?
Winston
threw him basically 4 passes on one drive, got all the way down, and scored the touchdown on this one simulated drive.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was just one example. He showed more this summer as a receiver than I've ever seen him show as a receiver previously with his time here at the Giants. And then we know what he can do as a returner.
Yeah, we talked about him yesterday. In particular, Winston and Dart, both. Winston and DeVito. Dart had thrown him a couple of, because I logged every pass during practice, during the training camp, and I pulled out my book yesterday, and we were talking about this with John, and while he was conversing with somebody, I counted it up. I think Dart only had a few completions to him, but DeVito and Winston had a slew. We could not find one where Russell Wilson had completed a pass to him during training camp. But 2 of the QBs found ways to get him the ball. And I didn't have him down for a drop.
Yeah, he showed more as a receiver over the last month than I've seen him show.
I know.
In, all of last summer when he was here in training camp preseason to the 2023 season, which granted he was more limited towards special teams in that season, but
sure.
He really showed a lot.
He's tough.
He is tough. And again, we know what he can do as a kick returner, and then if he could also potentially serve as that sort of backup slot receiver, because there's no one else that would really, I guess, fit that sort of like the Wandell body type of a slot receiver. Yeah.
All right, let's go to Cal in New Jersey. You're next on the show. Hello.
It's actually Carol.
I think we said Cal.
Carol.
Oh, is it Carol? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's okay. Hi. How are you guys?
Hello,
we're good. How are you?
Talking to you.
Thank you for calling.
Quick, of course, I got to talk about my Eli first.
Okay.
Real quick story, and it's a great one. Of course, he's like, I love this guy. My son sees him having breakfast and said that I would kill my son if he didn't get a picture. And graciously, he finished his breakfast, took a picture with my son, shook their hands. Like I could not love him anymore. Anyway, real quick,
He's a great guy.
I was just reading something that someone was asking you about Nacho and sell them on Nacho. I don't know why they're complaining about him. Can you explain that part?
Well, I don't know what comment you're referring to, but I will say this. Nacho, when he came over, or he had been with Tampa Bay, and actually won a ring with the Bucs. A lot of people immediately thought that, okay, wow, he's going to put up big numbers. Well, if you look at his stat line as a defensive tackle, nothing there jumps out at you. Nacho does a lot of the dirty work. He does a lot of the stuff in the trenches while Dexter Lawrence is getting pressure on the quarterback. Dexter Lawrence is getting guys for losses. Dexter Lawrence is knocking guys down for sacks. Dexter Lawrence is doing the big jelly roll dance or whatever. Is that what he calls it?
The sexy Dexy
okay.
dance.
All right,
I don't know if that's the official name for it.
Whatever. So to be frank with you, Nacho kind of flies under the radar, and I would understand why somebody would say, well, we don't see, things that stand out about him. But here's what I will tell you. He is a pro. Again, we're talking about intangibles. He checks every box as far as the intangibles go.
That's why I wanted to see you, because I'm a second-time caller, but I literally watch your show every day, and I really respect the fact that, Paul, you explain things. You're not like blah, 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 and move on from the person. You actually give the point that this is why, this is the number. And, of course, John is your stat guy. I have a question, though. What kind of, and this has nothing to do with the Giants, but Lance, what kind of what does he follow? Because I was very aggravated because I'm a Knicks fan, too. And he's like, yeah, I hope they lose. I was like, well, what kind of fan is he? And he's obviously not.
Well, are you asking Matt, or are you asking Lance, who's not on the program today?
No, I'm asking you.
You're asking me. I'm a Knicks fan.
No, she's asking
what is Lance. Do you know what kind of fan he is?
Oh,
I know he's a Michael Jordan fan.
Lance is all about Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, no, not Lance. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that?
Lance is all about Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. John and I are diehard Knicks fans, and I'll let Matt speak for himself.
I am a Brooklyn Net fan, and yes, we do exist.
I know about you, Matt, but you're such a sweetheart. You never threw the Knicks under the bus.
No, I was rooting for the Knicks.
Any program I've seen, I actually like you. I think you're a calm by the storm next to you. But because he's like but I love it because I'm the same kind of fan like him, Paul. Those are my Giants. Like, I love them. I'm going to continue listening. Thank you so much, both of you, and God bless you both.
You are very kind.
Off the air. Bye.
Thank you so much, and be well.
Thank you for calling, Carol. Please call again. That was so nice.
I'm speechless. We usually don't get that much kindness, although our listeners are very good to us. That was overflowing kindness.
I know. Let's hope it continues for the next 4 months.
Well,
5 months.
Maybe that's also because we were 3-0 in the preseason. We're getting a little more positivity on our phone calls. No, Carol, I'm sure you're positive no matter when you talk about the team, and we do appreciate very much. And be well. Quickly, I want to go to Holden in Bristol, Pennsylvania. You're next on BBKL. Hello.
Hey, John. Hey, Paul.
What's up? I got Matt with me today.
As a real down to earth Giants fan, we haven't had a nice blocking fullback in a very long time since Hedgecock.
Yes,
and a little mixture of Peyton Hillis. Now, I really have a big feeling about Chapman. He was released as a defensive tackle, but I don't think not many people paid attention to his offensive schematic, ability to block. And he has a power of a blocking. I think we all seen that big block that he laid on that linebacker in the first Jets game or in the first Buffalo game and going into the second game. He's a real power effect, and I think that we need to bring him back. I want to see what you guys' thoughts on that, about bringing him back to maybe put him in the backfield with our running backs.
All right, Holden. Appreciate the phone call.
Thank you, Holden.
Thank you. You want to start?
Well, for starters, I'm just going to talk about the fullback position in general. They barely exist in the NFL these days. It is a vast change from, 10, 15, 20 years ago where every single team had a fullback. You look through the rosters of all 32 teams, how many fullbacks are you going to find?
You know what?
How many real, true fullbacks are you going to find?
As of last December, almost 40% of the teams were carrying a fullback.
Really?
Yes. Not that they were using them a lot, but they were carrying them. Maybe they would have been special teams guys who weren't lining up a lot as a fullback, but they were fullbacks.
If you want to talk about like a tight end that is capable of lining up at fullback, that's obviously a completely different story. But just true, like old school fullbacks, don't really exist too much in the NFL anymore. I mean, we had one last year with, what's his name? I was just talking before about the veteran that goes up and down the roster from the practice squad.
There's Juszczyk from the 49ers. There's Picard from the Ravens, who have prominent roles.
Yeah, those are the two best.
They have prominent roles in their offense.
100%.
I think the best way to describe this is fullbacks no longer have a prominent role in the NFL. I think that's the fairest way to go.
100%.
Because I think the number that I counted up was like 14 teams out of 32.
That was last year? I'd be interested to see if that is still the case.
I don't know if it will be next week.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not.
But then to your question, to your point, I mean, look, the coaching staff know the players on this team better than any of us could imagine, any of us ever could in a lifetime. So if they don't think that, Elijah Chapman, who is a defensive tackle and has played defensive tackle his whole football career, if they don't think, that he is a legit fullback, I'm going to go with, their judgment on that. It would be something that it seemed like they were just kind of testing, in the preseason. That's not something even last year we saw him. Did he line up at fullback at all last year?
No. He wanted to.
Yeah, I know he wanted to.
He did an interview with me, and he actually asked me during the interview, hoping that might spark a little bit of usage, and it didn't work. He even wanted the ball if they'd give him the ball.
Oh, I'm sure. You find me one defensive lineman who gets to play even one snap on offense and doesn't want the football. I don't think those don't exist.
Here's what I will say. Chapman, pound for pound, may be the strongest player on this team.
His teammates certainly think so.
Yeah. So, if you want to make a case for him in that regard, that's fine. We could talk about the versatility. That's fine. Bottom line, Dre Patterson, the Giants defensive line coach, really, really loves the kid. So there's a lot of reasons why the Giants would like to have him in the building. But whether or not he's part of today's transactions, we don't know that. We'll find out at 4 o'clock. But remember what I said earlier. Most of your practice squad guys have already been in the building during training camp. So just because he may or may not show up on a list doesn't mean he's out of here.
And let's just, remember, because I know every single year we see it where there are a couple of guys that, were fighting for those last couple of roster spots that don't make it, that are, kind of the quote unquote fan favorites or some of the fan favorite players. It's obviously building a roster of 53 players is incredibly tough. There's a reason why only 32 people in this world have that job. It is about constructing an entire roster at every position. You have to consider the depth at each and every position. If you add one more player at one position, you're taking away the depth at another position. And we saw this offseason, the Giants put resources towards their interior defensive line. They drafted Darius Alexander. They signed Roy Robertson-Harris. Chauncey Golston, who I know technically, is the outside linebacker, but seems like there are plans for him to line up on the inside as well. It's now all of a sudden like a crowded room. So you just got to keep that in mind when you see potentially some guys that, again, might be a fan favorite who the reports are may or may not have made the team. You got to keep that in mind that you're building an entire roster here. You can't just kind of focus on one end of the roster guy at one position.
Thank you for the phone call. Appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast, long-form interviews with Giants and NFL personnel. Don't forget, you can find it on your favorite podcast platform or go to giants.com/podcasts. And, of course, leave a positive review if you're on Apple Podcasts. It always helps us to know what programs are tickling your fancy, so to speak. The Giants, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, you had something to put up?
Some breaking NFL news that I know you're going to be you particularly very interested in. Apparently, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift just announced that they're engaged. Shall
we move on with our promotional announcements? Run or walk with Giants legends. The Giants Foundation will host a 5K Racing Kids Run presented by Quest on Sunday, October 26th at 9 a.m. at MetLife Stadium. Net proceeds will benefit the Giants Foundation. All participants will receive a commemorative T-shirt, and after the race, stay for a post-race festival with appearances by Giants legends and a live DJ. Registered now at giants.com/5K. The Giants Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. Also, Giants season tickets will help you take your fandom to the next level. You will get all kinds of access to membership benefits year-round. To learn more, go to giants.com/tickets. And of course, there's Giants TV, the official streaming app. It is free. It is available on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. All right, we've got some people who are watching the show today on YouTube Live. We'll get to some of those comments. Scott Young says, there have been some good-looking offensive linemen released that we sure could use. Hope we grab one of them. We could use some extra help there. Well, I don't think there's any doubt that the Giants' offensive line does remain a work in progress. However, I would ask this of you, Matt. With all the bodies they have in the room, and some of them on the younger side, I suspect they probably want to still get a better gauge on what the potential of these guys is and what they have in that room before they bring in somebody from the outside who they don't know anything about.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know the offensive line has been probably the biggest weakness on this team for a long time. But this is the first year in a while I feel good about not only the starters, but the depth that we have up front. I mean, it is, the Giants are relying on some younger players to take a step, but that's kind of what you expect with these young guys going into, year 2, year 3, even year 4 in some guys' cases. Like, I actually don't necessarily think, obviously if there's someone that gets cut from another team that the Giants love, then yeah, of course, I'm totally on board with bringing that guy in, giving him a chance. But I think the Giants feel at least pretty good as of right now about the guys they have up front, especially with Andrew Thomas on his way back. Mm-hmm. Obviously being activated off the PUP list last week. He's making his way towards a return. So you look at the starters, and even the guys they have behind him, I just, maybe I'm, too close to the situation, but for once I feel like you got to feel pretty good about the guys we have up front, especially with how they performed in the preseason. The offensive line was probably, everyone wants to talk about the quarterback play in the preseason. Quarterbacks don't play like that unless the offensive line is giving them the time and protection to operate. So I think, especially with how they look this summer, continuity has been such a hot topic with the guys up front. I'm down to give these guys a chance that are already in the building.
All right, Zachary says, what do you think of Micah Parsons trying to leave the Cowboys and what it means for us? I find it hard to believe that Micah Parsons is going to miss both the Philadelphia and Giants games in the first 2 weeks of the season. Maybe he will miss the first game, who knows, but I don't see him missing the first 2 games. That's going to cost him some money because you can hold in and not get fined. But once the regular season starts, you pay for not practicing because, hold-ins don't get away with that stuff. I know he says he's got an achy back, but the trainers will have something to say about that too. I just can't see him missing both of the first 2 games. I'd be very surprised.
I agree and disagree. I agree that I don't think he's going to miss even the week 1 game.
Yeah.
But I disagree in that I think he is willing to give up those paychecks and even get those fines for missing a little bit of time to start the season in order to secure the deal that he believes he deserves, and quite honestly, he does deserve. I think it's sort of a little bit of a game of chicken between him and Jerry Jones. And as we've seen how many years, every year for the last at least couple with the best players on the Cowboys, Jerry Jones just loves to drag this out to the last possible moment. He loves the Cowboys being the topic of conversation on all the NFL talk shows every morning. I think they're going to get a deal done, and Micah Parsons will be playing week 1 against the Eagles. I mean, again, I hope for our sake he signs a deal heading into week 3. Because if we could have one less game of having to face
You're
Micah
so
Parsons,
dastardly, aren't you?
I will gladly take that. As much as I was just talking up the offensive line, obviously, if we have a chance to not face one of the best players in the league, I would take it. But we've seen it with CeeDee Lamb. We've seen it with Dak Prescott. Jerry Jones does this every year. They're going to get a deal done eventually, and he will play.
I don't know Micah Parsons as a person. So this is simply something that I'm asking. I don't know the answer to it. How would he feel if he misses the first 2 games? They are division games, and Dallas starts 0-2 in the NFC East, whereby he now damages his team's opportunity, at least within the division, of having a winning season. How would he feel about that? How would his teammates feel about that? How would he look in the mirror knowing that he may have damaged, if he does come back to the team in week 3, he will have already damaged their chances by having them start off 0-2? Is that something that's going to bother him, or does he care?
So, similar to you, I obviously do not know Micah Parsons personally, but from the vibes that he gives off, I think he is going to he doesn't want to hurt his team, obviously. I don't think any player in the NFL would do anything to purposely hurt their team and the guys that they share a locker room with. However, I think he's going to do what's best for him and his future.
Yeah.
And that is to not take the field until he gets the contract that he deserves. And quite honestly, as much as his teammates would probably not like not having him out there with him, I think just about every guy in the locker room would understand and see where he's coming from.
Perhaps.
Because again,
I don't know the answer.
Again, it's not like we're talking about some mid-tier player. Like Micah Parsons is one of the top 3 defensive players in the NFL, top 5 at the very least. He deserves the contract that he's asking for.
All right, we got a couple of real quick ones here. I want to go through these fast. Devin T. Severin says, because there's 17 games, he says the NFL needs to up the roster to 55, that extra players is essential for playoff-bound teams. We just told you it's kind of 55 anyway.
I was going to say, guess what? With the elevations you're allowed from the practice squad, come week 1, you get 55 guys technically on your game day roster. Then obviously you designate 47 of them as active, but going into Sunday morning, you have 55 guys at your disposal if you choose to do it.
It's not the old days, man. There's so much more flexibility now with the roster. And to be frank, I hate to even, you know what? I'm going to rephrase this before I say something that's going to be construed as something very negative. Since COVID came into play, the NFL it was a necessity for them. Let me make sure I spit this out right. To be more flexible with the rosters, because they had no idea what was going to happen the night before or the morning of a game, because COVID could have struck your team, and now you've got a problem with not having enough guys. So they started to open up the rules and give roster flexibility more of a priority. Over the course of time since then, they have kind of seen that, you know what, with injuries that we have, it's probably be better off that we keep that kind of flexibility.
Yep.
Okay, so be that as it may. Sean Collins says, I think Burns, Tibbs, and Carter could have 10-plus sacks. Hey, go for it, man. Love to see it.
Sign us up. Richard
Roberts says, Paul, sell me a nacho. We've actually talked about that with a previous caller. No sense in going further. Devin T. Severin comes back and says, if you have 2 good catching backs, who has the advantage against base defense linebackers? The PA and screen game will play action and screen game will feast. Well,
say who has the advantage between the 2 backs?
I'm not sure exactly what his question is, to be frank with you. I think what he means. No, I'm not even going to take a shot at it. I'm not sure.
Look, if you have 2 good pass catching backs, which I would say the Giants have 3, then yes, the screen game looks obvious. That obviously helps your screen game a lot. It helps play action as well.
Does he mean the running backs have an advantage over the linebackers? Maybe that's what he means. But why? But that's automatic.
You could say that about any good pass catching back.
That's
I would
automatic.
say, unless you're going against a linebacker who excels in coverage like a Fred Warner, who's obviously one of the best. And yeah, the running back would have an advantage. Given the ambiguous
nature of the question, I should have skipped it.
We tried.
Scott Young says, my question is, if a player is waived, does he have to sign with a team that claims him? Yes. If a player is waived and he gets claimed, he is now tied to that team. If he doesn't want to play, he doesn't have to play.
Yeah, it's not the player signing with the team. It's the player, which you have to be under 4 years, so you're likely on your rookie contract. The team that claims you just gets you on the contract that you had previously signed.
They have your rights.
Yes.
They have your rights.
It's not like you're now re-signing again with this new team. It's the same contract that you were already playing under, just under a new team.
And if you don't want to play, then don't play. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
But you are tied through waivers to the team that claims you. See, that's the difference, because if you're 4 years or up as a veteran, you actually get cut. You don't get waived. Now you don't pass through the reverse order of the standings, as is the case now. Matt talked about this. The Giants are number 3 in reverse order. But if you're a veteran and you're cut, you're a street free agent. You can sign with anybody.
Yeah, that's why, on our Giants.com, there's a page under the team section, transactions, where I post, the exact actual transaction for every move that the Giants make. And that first wave of guys that we already announced a couple days ago, the first 8 guys, You'll notice of those 8, 7 of them have the designation of waived. And then 1, Zach Pascal, says, terminated vested veteran, because he's been in the league for more than 4 years.
Right.
He doesn't go through waivers. As soon as that move became official, he had the right to sign officially with any other team across the NFL. The other guys, the other 7, had to go through waivers and then see how it played out from there.
Correct. 201-939-4513. We have a few minutes. Len from Columbia, Maryland, one of our regulars, is back on the show. Hello, Len.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Big day, man. Lots of happening. Let me start off by saying, Paul, the last couple of days, there's been a reference to the 1970 season and the finish of the preseason where the Giants lost to Pittsburgh up in Canada, where they went 0-6 in the exhibition season. And the one thing that hasn't been said is after that Pittsburgh game, Ali Sherman got fired the next day.
Well, the caller yesterday referred to the chants of Goodbye Alley, which we are all very familiar with. And yes, in fact, that turned out to be fact. I'm sorry, but it did. I got to know Alley over the years.
The next day, and Alex Webster became the coach.
Yes, and Alex Webster was coach of the year in 1970.
Yes, he was.
Giants were 9-5.
Okay, now, I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't seen any rumored waivers or releases since about noon. So some of the players I talk about may have already been rumored to have been released. But I noticed this morning that the safety room, or the defensive backfield room, got smaller considerably, and we're down to 3 safeties, recognizing that a 4th safety on your 53 is somewhat of a luxury. They've really got to be able to play special teams to be the 4th safety. Is it possible? I noticed in the last preseason game that they used Nick Jones at safety a little bit. Is it possible that Jones is really we can play a couple of positions, the safety position, and also back up Phillips at slot corner? Now, if he's the slot corner with the defensive backs that are left, we're talking about 6, and the 3 safeties are 9 defensive backs. That's a full roster worth of defensive backs. Is Jones that kind of wild card, guys?
Well, Jones showed over the summer he is capable of sort of playing all over the secondary. So, yeah, I do think he is capable of taking some snaps at safety. I don't know if I'd want him starting at safety, but
no.
capable of playing, a handful of snaps each game.
Yeah.
Yes, I think he is capable, and I think he showed that.
Yeah.
And I also just want to remind you that Dane Belton, who obviously, we know is the 3rd safety on this team, he plays a lot of special team snaps. So you're talking about the 4th safety lining up at special teams. We know Dane Belton is going to be a part of the special teams units as well.
Yeah, well, Matt, he's that front man on the punt. Well, I guess we call him the fullback on the punt team.
The personal protector is another.
He's been doing that. He did that all last year.
He's been great.
He's very good at that, by the way. He gets down the field.
Agreed. Yep.
Yeah. Defensive line. Paul, you've been on the field in September at FedEx, and you've been on the field in September in Dallas. I don't know if the Dallas ones were ever at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but there's a really good chance that the temperature on the field for those two games is going to be over 100 degrees. I'm a little concerned about Dexter. I don't think he's going to, be able to play the full complement of plays, which we want him to. And I'm going to throw out a number, 50 snaps at nose tackle. What do we do when Dexter's off the field? Who's the backup nose tackle who we can get 12 to? All we need is 12 to 15 plays, guys. Who's in the lead for that?
All right. Well, first things first. If you've got an offense that does better and controls the ball and does some nice things by keeping that clock going, that will reduce the number of snaps that the defense has to be on the field to begin with. That in itself will help out Dexter Lawrence. Because if they don't have a bunch of 3-and-outs, right, Dexter doesn't have to keep running back onto the field.
Okay.
So let's consider that as something that's good. Second item.
Yes,
Second item.
I agree.
In terms of, we do not know right now who the defensive linemen are going to be opening day against Washington. In fact, we may not even know that for 2 days. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have great confidence in naming a backup nose tackle to Dexter. There's no question in my mind, that the guy who has the body and the skill set to be the backup nose, and we discussed it yesterday on the show, is Jordan Riley. But Jordan Riley has been very quiet during this entire offseason. And during the preseason, did not do anything for me to make himself stand out.
Well, I think that's true.
Now, so given that answer, I don't have an answer right now. I would like to wait 48 hours and have you call us back on Friday.
I also think, this obviously goes without saying, but anytime you take Dexter Lawrence off the field, your defense is going to take a hit. It's just, it's just the simple truth.
That's
because
what I'm worried about,
you're
Matt.
talking about one of the best defensive players in the
somebody
league.
Who can give me 10 to 12 plays.
No,
and
of course.
You haven't mentioned Davidson's name. I happen to like Davidson, Paul. I think you get a little push out of him from nose tackle.
Well, if you heard the show yesterday,
you didn't mention him.
I did yesterday. When John and I talked yesterday, I told him the debate for me. Remember, my 53. I don't predict what the Giants will do. I've said this a billion times. I tell you who I would keep on my 53, my personal 53. And I fought between Davidson and Chapman because Davidson has bulked up. He's gotten his frame wider. Yeah. He's gotten stronger. Yes. He's more of a nose tackle type than Chapman is.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Not only that, but I thought DJ Davidson had a pretty good performance this summer.
Yeah,
I did too.
He was one of the guys that coming into training camp. I think we kind of all agreed he's kind of have to show us something in order to stick around because this is what year 3 now for him as a 7th round pick.
Yeah,
he showed it this summer in the limited opportunities he got, whether it was during team drills in practice or in the preseason. I thought he looked pretty good. Now, to be honest.
I would like to see Davidson. I almost think about it as Dexter and a linebacker and 3 or 4 others. No, Dexter and a backup. Excuse me, and 3 or 4 other defensive linemen to give you 5 or 6. But we need the guy. I mean,
ultimately,
even if he's a zero technique, just somebody who can push the center back a little bit.
Ultimately, while there were some flashes out of Davidson this offseason, it came down to for me between Chapman and Davidson. And if I were making the list, I described yesterday how I thought Chapman's ability to add the fullback stuff to the game, which, as you know, I'm an old school fullback guy.
Yeah.
I leaned on him. But that was that was a personal opinion that had nothing to do with what the Giants are doing.
And look, when Dexter Lawrence steps off the field, it's going to be a group effort. You know, you can't just rely on one player to step up.
That's for sure.
It's going to be, Roy Robertson Harris, I feel like, has been one of the most forgotten and overlooked players all summer. I feel like that is someone I've spoken about him several times, and I know Andre Patterson loves him and thinks that he's such untapped potential. I think that is one guy that when Dexter comes off the field, he's not your traditional nose tackle, but that's someone that will need to take on a bigger role on those handful of snaps that Dexter's not on the field. That could go a long way in helping to take those 12 snaps that you mentioned.
If Patterson unlocks his potential, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I have 30 seconds to respond to Paul and the Chapman discussion? I like Chapman, but I don't know. You have Golston, and it's almost like you're going to ask Golston to do the same thing that you were going to ask Chapman to do on defense. And as the
I don't think so,
Paul,
Len.
I like fullback. So I mean, I go back. My first favorite player on the Giants, and I'm back in the early 50s, was a guy named Eddie Price, who turned out to be 97 on that top 100 list. But he was my first hero, and he was a fullback.
There you go.
The other thing with Chapman on offense, Paul, if you're coming off a 3-14 season, that's almost too much of a luxury.
I understand.
I mean, that's an 11-6 team.
I understand.
Type of. You get it?
No, Len, I know where you're going. It's not a debate because I understand where you're going. There's no right or wrong answer on this. I got one more call I got to get to, Len.
Yeah, go for it.
Be good.
Real quick, I just want to say, for those that maybe don't realize, Elijah Chapman is listed on Giants.com at 6 feet 278. DJ Davidson is 6'5", 320 pounds. They are completely different bodied defensive linemen. So if you want to talk about, a guy that could potentially come in and give Dex a breather at nose tackle, if it's those two, in terms of like body, clearly Davidson would be the logical choice.
It's an apple against an orange.
Yeah, they're different strengths of those two for sure. But
no doubt,
based on the other pass rushers the Giants have, I think you would want that position to be someone that might be able to help with the run a little bit more, which I think Davidson is more suited for.
Now, I just would add about Golston, I'm in complete disagreement with, I think, you and John, and I don't know if Lance disagrees. To me, Golston is a defensive end / potential 3 technique in the sub-package defensive tackle. I don't consider him an edge rusher. I know he's been training with Bullen in the positional drills, but to me, your typical edge rusher is a stand-up defensive end, more what Burns and Thibodeau and what Carter should be doing. I'm not looking at Golston that way. To me, Golston is more of a Justin Tuck type. Okay, Tuck very rarely stood up.
No, I completely agree.
You agree with me?
I've been talking about Golston since we signed him as a guy that I expected to line up more on the inside.
So
honestly.
It's John who disagrees.
Yeah, I mean, just based on the top 3 guys the Giants have on the depth chart at outside linebacker, if Golston's primarily going to line up there, he's just never going to see the field.
No, it's pointless.
I've been talking about him the last few months. I assume he's going to line up more inside than at edge.
He's got to be a down lineman, is my point.
Yeah, because the contract that he got reportedly signed to, I mean, that wasn't like chump change. That was a decent contract. I expect him to be on the field, and it's not going to be an edge rusher every snap based on the first 3 guys.
Okay, so you're with me. He's a down lineman.
And real quick, I just realized we did not touch on this at all, and it is the one somewhat news thing we have today is that Dexter Lawrence was named the NFL Top 100. I know it's been going on for months, it feels like, because they're doing 2 players a day. But it came out today. We announced Dexter Lawrence ranked the 17th best player in the NFL in the NFL Top 100 players vote. 17th in the entire NFL. He's the highest ranked Giants defender. Granted, the vote started in 2011, so it has not been around forever. LT obviously would have found himself probably at number 1 on this list quite a few times.
The list. Okay.
But since 2011, Dexter Lawrence is the highest ranked Giants defender. Came in at number 17. Quite frankly, I think if he played all 17 games last year, he would be even higher on this list. But I just wanted to give Dex a shout out. We didn't mention it. And this was, the newsy thing that we have already announced today that I just wanted to very quickly touch on.
It was well documented that a number of organizations suggested that had Dexter finished the season, he would have been a strong candidate for Defensive Player of the Year last season.
I mean, he was on his way to his best. He was having his best season already. And this was a guy that had already been named back-to-back second-team All-Pro.
Hey, sign me up for him having his best year this season. How about that?
I mean, it's fully possible with the guys he'll be lining up next to.
Real quick, Rob in Connecticut. Let's try to squeeze you in here. Hello, Rob.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're going to give you 2 minutes, Rob, because I know you've been on hold. Go ahead.
Yeah. No worries. By the way, Matt, that little joke of yours earlier regarding Taylor Swift, I was excited for a moment. So you sort of had me on edge, and you may have almost partially ruined my day. But
I'm sorry. I was just trying to take a shot at Paul over here. I'm sorry.
He knows how much I don't get into the paparazzi factors of the game.
Well done. So, number one, hot take. I really don't think that the Giants' schedule is that difficult. Look, I went over some of those, the rosters of some of these teams. They're not overly imposing. Some of these defenses aren't even that good. Why are we worried about this? You know what I mean? Yeah, so I don't know what's your take on that.
I mean, real quick, just on that is we see every year so much changes in the NFL. So just because the Giants have the hardest strength of schedule based on last year's records, that almost never means that come the end of this season, the Giants' opponents will have combined to have the best, strength, the hardest strength of schedule again. A lot of those teams, or some of those teams, I should say, will take steps back. Other teams might take a step forward. I think the Giants are going to be a team that takes a step forward. So, yeah, I don't worry too much about the strength of schedule. Like, yes, the Giants they don't have an easy schedule, that's for sure, but I don't think it is quite as imposing as some people make it out to be.
Yeah, 10 games this year against teams that were in the playoffs last season tells you it's going to be a challenge. How about that? Can we use the word challenge? Yeah. Is that a good word? It's a challenging schedule. Okay, go ahead.
Like, I think that the Deadskins, I think they're not. I think they're like Jaden Daniels is good, but I sort of think that he'll have a rookie slump. They always do, and you know what?
Sophomore slump. It's not a rookie slump. It's a sophomore slump.
Sophomore slump. That's right.
There you go.
Also, the Dallas Cowboys are a house of cards. They're going to take 2 steps back this year, and guess what? The Michael Parsons contract is kerosene. Gasoline is the head coach Schottenheimer. They're going nowhere. And anyway,
all right, Rob.
Thing is,
real quick, go ahead. One more.
Yeah, what was it like being around the 1993 team? Because I think they were one of the great teams as well.
All right, appreciate your time.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Rob.
The only thing I'll say about the 93 team, that was Dan Reeves's team. When he came in and he took over the Giants, he immediately, when he took over, installed Phil Simms as the starting quarterback again. And Phil, of course, led the Giants to the playoffs that year. It was LT's last season. It was Phil's last season. And you know what? I happen to think that if Mark Jackson had caught Phil Simms, what would have been his 200th career touchdown pass in the left flat at about the Dallas 10-yard line and had easily waltzed into the end zone like he should have, and the Giants would have won that game instead of losing in overtime. The Giants would have had the ability to rest up some of their injuries, and the 49ers, who were badly beaten up, would not have had the opportunity to get the bye week and to have the Giants come all the way across the country and have to play them in San Francisco. So my answer to you is this. I don't think that team was good enough to win the Super Bowl, but I certainly think it was good enough to go a couple of more rounds. I think they might have even gotten to the NFC Championship game. Maybe. I don't think it was a Super Bowl team, but unfortunately, Phil, LT, they went out with a really nasty game in San Francisco, which is one that we all choose to forget. Ricky Waters certainly had one of those days that you don't want to remember.
Yeah, I guess this is one moment where I guess I'm grateful that I was only 1 year old and can't remember or don't remember that.
Do yourself a favor. Don't look at the tape.
Yeah, I hear you talking about this 93 team earlier. You were talking about the 85 team, and obviously I wasn't alive for the 85.
The 85
I don't
team was
remember
really good.
the 93, but in my eyes, the biggest what-if team of the Giants in my lifetime easily is the 2008 team.
Yeah.
I thought the way the Giants were playing that year, there was no doubt in my mind that they were going to make a deep playoff run. And then obviously, as we know, Plaxico had the incident in New York City, and that torpedoed the entire season. But had that not happened, the Giants were playing like the best team in all of football that year.
No doubt.
I think they would have had a very good chance to go back-to-back, which will remain one of the biggest what-ifs in my eyes.
Totally agree.
Unfortunately.
Totally agree with you. That team, more than any other team that I remember, was destined to win another
They were
Lombardi.
just dominant at every aspect of the game.
All right, Matt, that'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. Keep it tuned to Giants.com. They will post the official Giants release with all of the names. They're going to be trimmed from the roster as of 4 o'clock today. All right? Remember, that's today's initial or first 53. Pay attention. Over the course of the next 2 days, there may be some adjustments. That'll do it for this edition.
Make sure your push notifications are on for the Giants app. Because we will be sending, anytime there's any sort of news, we will be sending you guys a push to make sure you're aware.
Big Blue Kickoff Live is presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Giants. And as always, we have come to you from the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you again tomorrow. For Matt, I'm Paul. Take care, everybody.